All right, everybody, welcome to the 4th of July special. This is, of course, Bold Like a Leopard with Dave MacDowell here. Dave, say hi.
Yo, 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 happy 4th. Yeah.
So,
Let's blow it up, man.
exactly. In Minecraft.
Yeah, I'd love to be the emergency room doctors today. Like, oh my God.
So Dave, the reason I wanted to have you on is because, of course, we're both fans of the same show, and I can't help but notice. So Hard Bastard has featured a lot of your artwork on, and it's like really like garish horror story stuff. Like here's the here's the Charlie Sheen one. This is great. I don't know if you can see it because you're watching on Hangouts, but I'm showing it to the audience where he's chained to a wall. And I wanted to ask, so is it like difficult? Like, do you just like watch for headlines and figure out, well, this is what I'm going to make. This one I could get like a strike for, but you have this one from Big Lebowski. Can you just find inspiration like all the time from these pop culture memes that happen, and then you transform it into like these very vivid paintings? Is that how you start out, or like how does the whole idea generate?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'll
Okay, cool.
boost your volume too if I can.
Oh no, I'm good. I think well, it's what's in the media or what anybody's talking about. Lately it's been their narrative. So if they're saying Kamala Harris is smoking pot and keep laughing, evil witch, I'll paint that. And then when I do paint that, they get mad. It's just triggering people. So at that time he was big for being a symbol of insanity, and so people loved it because it was pro Hollywood. Yeah, I love him. He's the anti hero. And who would love that? Why would you want to be around someone like that? You know what I mean? It's like reality versus the mirror. The artwork is the mirror, you know. And if you look, if you don't like it, you probably don't like what you see in the mirror, you know. But if you love it, you're probably a sick son of a bitch, you know.
Yeah, and I think really the problem that we're seeing in this, I guess we could call it a Trump era phenomenon, is that many people who were once not really, they weren't politically inclined, they suddenly start creating art or music or movies that are mildly critical of one of these new multicultural things, and suddenly they become labeled, bigoted, or if not bigoted, then retrograde or backward looking, or whatever. What's like the case that you remembered? Has this happened to you specifically with any piece of art here? The one I'm showing right now is the one where you have Biggie and Tupac like carried
Right,
by
right,
the guy from Wild Wild West.
right. Yeah, man. Since I started, once you start painting Abraham Lincoln, like it was about 10 years ago. I was living in Virginia with my kids. That worked out. Okay, you know, I don't live there anymore, but
Mhm.
yeah, I got in shows. I'm like, all right, I'm going to be a serious artist. So it was a Magna Carta show in some giant museum down there, and I got lucky. But had Abraham Lincoln, slavery, like basically calling everyone in Virginia like a bigot because there was a massive slaves, you know, but it's mostly, so there's a lot of racism, a lot of anti both sides, but they all pretend they're not. So that I wanted to put that in a painting, and most people looked at me sideways, but I'm surprised they hung it, dude, because it was a mirror saying you're a racist, man, you know. And so, and then they get mad, and then it's like, don't shoot the messenger. You know what? It's only a painting, dude. Calm down. People, death threats, people from all over the world, communists, people who love Russia, a lot of anger out there, you know?
So you would say that when it comes to the subjects you pick, you're not trying to please anyone. You're just trying to kind of get amusement and show really the image that these people are projecting to you that they don't want people to see. Is that
Right,
really so they're basically, they're trying to damage control when you do these images, and you actually, that you are painting them by hand, correct? So
right,
this is like pretty, it's not really something that put people put into the effort today as much, because there's so many different softwares people use for visual art. So
right.
it has this gotten worse and worse, especially since the election, or is it something that it's just a different type of anger that people express over your art now? Is just a different motivation.
I don't know, man. It's something we got to wait and see. It's a wait and see type thing because it may blow up 10 years from now where people are like, oh my God, what a crazy time. Look at the artwork that was being censored, or look at what people were really saying. The media wasn't telling you that, you know. So, but right now, there's always a shift. Right now, people are so drugged out and dumbed down by the media, TV, music, sports, movies, Hollywood, politics. where they're just constantly lying to you. I mean, we really don't know what's going on in the world. You have to talk to someone overseas to find out because their news is lying, you know. So we're being lied to. So if I could tell the truth in some way, even if it is going to be spit on, as long as it's technically painted perfect to show, like, wow, that is so skilled. Like so many people have said, wow, you are a genius. It's unfortunately you paint nothing but garbage, you know. Yeah, that's a big compliment, you know.
Yeah, and I see a lot of your stuff. Maybe people are calling you, a Trumpist today, but the fact is, your art was pretty critical of Donald Trump. Here's one where you have him and Hillary just, I guess, in a car with Bernie on her shoulder, shitting on her
Right,
shoulder.
right,
So
right,
so so were you also one of the people like I have a friend Lennon McCarthy who's been on this show. You probably know him
right.
from Hard Bastard Stream. So were you originally like a Bernie bro,
Right.
or yeah?
I think so. Yeah, we gave hundreds of dollars to Bernie, dude. You
Uh,
know, he was the one because the more you look, once WikiLeaks came out, and then it was like that was the red pill right there when you saw what they were doing, how crooked, corrupt, disgusting, Satanist. You know, it's like you always assumed it was that way, but once you read it, so you read all the WikiLeaks, and then you see what the media tells you to read or not to read, and so I just became neither. Neither. They're all every politician is not a puppet. And so it was like, I didn't care one way or the other, bro. You know, it was even more enticing if Trump did something right for a change, and the media's like, no, he's wrong. And then that was the red pill. Like, wait, he was right, though. Why are you lying? And then the lies and lies and lies. And that's why Hard Bastard was kind of a red pill, too. Like, he could pick it out better than I can. You know what I mean? He can tell, like, he'll play it back and say, "Do you hear what he just said right there?" And it's like I didn't hear it. I heard it, but I didn't internalize it. I didn't realize that they were lying. And there's nothing worse than a liar. You know what I mean?
yeah. So I think in that respect, that's one of the reasons that there's so many people who were not really plugged into politics who have glommed onto the Donald, even though if some of the people who watch my channel, they know that I've been critical of him with South America and with some of the other policies as he's enacted. But the fact is that what the media distortion about him is so bad that it's impossible to really trust any of the criticism with him against him unless you wait a couple days, see if any facts come out that verify the
Right.
reports. So
It's a show. It's a showbiz world right now with the internet, and you got a reality TV star running the country. Everyone thinks they're on TV. Even you know what I mean. You could give a mentally handicapped person power, and they will crap all over you, dude. You know what I mean? It's good we didn't do that. It's good we handed an actor because that's what the world needed. An actor acting in good faith. That's all I wanted. I had no control of it otherwise. And every day there's like 5 different scripts. They don't even know what to talk about. There's so much going on. So he's providing the news as his ratings, as his TV offerings. There's good cop, bad cop. Um, so I'd rather be played that way. I'm having a good time with it. I think the guy is a comedian. He's hilarious. Um, I I love Hillary Clinton too. I used to be a liberal. You know, she reminded me of my mom. I was a beta, beta. Yeah,
yeah, so the thing that I see, so we're showing right now the painting with Melania and Donald with his it's like a JFK parody. So it's
right.
so
Yeah, you can't
the
say I'm pro Trump. You know what I mean?
right.
And so most of the Trump haters, that's how you would volume it or a temperature to see what foot your water, temperature is. Most Trump haters love that. and they buy it and they love it. And then you paint Hillary with flies on her. They kind of laugh at it, but they don't say anything. Like they know what's good and evil, but they'd rather be evil. They'd rather be on the right side of history, which we know is not the right side of history. You know, they'd rather watch Madhouse. They'd rather believe Russian lies, and it's safer for them. I think it is derangement. Because how could you live with that amount of anger? I mean, watching TV, it's like, are they allowed to say that? Why don't they just sue them? How could they blatantly lie? How how is that legal? It's probably because of something Bill Clinton signed. You know what I mean?
Well, I think the legality is obviously we've always had people who they say lies out in public or whatever, but it's not like I think the legality is kind of a good question. Remember, there was yesterday the Congresswoman from Florida, Frederica Wilson, said that
Um,
they're gonna put people we're gonna put people in jail or prosecute them for
no.
for making fun of members of Congress. So, what does that motivate you to do, Mister Dave McDowell? Could there be a Frederica Wilson print coming out?
Well, yeah, it's a bunch of people attacking her. It's like a bunch of Toy Story fans. And they're like, give Woody his hat back. What are you doing? Why are you
I can't
you
wait.
know, right. And no, she's a joke. You know, why is she's in costume? She is central casting. You couldn't make something like that, you know, and she's just there to lie. I don't know how these people get voted in. It's just such a money system that we don't know about. Like, who in their right mind would give her money? I'd hire her for a commercial or something. You know what I mean? But not to be the voice. Same with Kamala Harris. Same with Jerry Nadler. I mean, where do these people come from, man? You know?
Well, I'll tell you, if you're asking a question, so I know it might have been rhetorical. So you live out west, right?
Right,
And I live here in Ohio, and I actually have a congresswoman who's she's not quite as cartoonish as Frederica Wilson, but
right,
she's been in office basically because the machine here, the local machine, picked her because
right,
she was friendly with the previous congresswoman was in office for years and years with, and she died in office. And
right,
Stephanie Tubbs and she'd done literally nothing except be in Congress and vote, and she never introduced anything important. And then our
right,
current Congresswoman, Marcia Fudge, it's the same thing because if you know the right judges and network correctly and the party officials and the mayors and everything, so yeah, you can become a congressman or congresswoman. It has nothing to do with whether you actually have a vision of anything. Doesn't matter what. I mean,
right,
all you have to do is say that you know the right people, you've gone to the right schools, and you've been a good boy or girl, like the soft gentleman video that I just saw
right,
before coming on here, and they'll put you in office. And in fact, she got into trouble last year for there was a judge here, Lance Mason, who murdered his wife, and he'd been released because he'd been in prison before. So I should start. He was removed from the bench because he beat his wife. He actually smashed her head against the dashboard, and
right.
so
Like Tebow. He pulled a Tebow on her.
yeah, Tebow. You mean like Tim Tebow?
Tebow, Cory Booker's
Oh,
imaginary
T-Bone.
friend. Right, right,
So yeah, he smashed her head against the dashboard, and in front of their kids, and then he was, of course, they put him under a restraining order. But she was one of several officials in the county who wrote a letter of recommendation that he be released from prison because he was
right,
a judge and they all knew him. And then he goes and murders her. And she's like, "Hey, yeah, I knew he was. I didn't. This was not the Lance Mason that I knew, and whatever." And it's like, get the fuck out of here. Like, this guy was a wife abuser, just a horrible person at home. and you're gonna get him out of prison because he was one of your club. So no, she's gonna get reelected, and
Right.
she's been reelected because nobody cares here. People ignore this type of stuff because it happens all the time. We've had judges like that too.
Well, your votes don't matter, in other words, and don't have any sense of morality or ethics because, like, I see Trey Dowdy or Matt Gates, and I'm like, wow, I could be a politician, man. I want to be like that. They're like a hero to me, And then you think, well, I can't. I'm probably too ugly, or I could probably look, I could clean up pretty good. So that's taken care of. I look good for the public. It's all a public persona, and they don't care. Hey, if you beat someone, listen, all you got to do is come clean. Be like, yeah, I blinded a guy. I'm Mark Wahlberg. I blinded a guy. They'll be like, you're cool now. I love you. As long as you're honest with me now, Charlie Sheen. Wow, you do a lot of coke and whores. I love you though, man, because you're honest. People want honesty. So hey man, KKK blackface, full term abortion, all of the murder, satanic agenda these guys got, they're heralded. People throw money at them because they're on the right side of history. They believe in that globalist agenda. I figure like first lie, go in there and act like them, and then all of a sudden turn around. They'll kill you. You'll be, Arkansas-sided. If you look at old clips of like Lindsey Graham, it's like, wow, they got you, dude. You know,
Yeah, yeah, I think it's interesting that you bring up all the issues of how the Democrats rehabilitate their beasts.
right?
So I'm not a fan of the Republicans, but I know when they kill one of their own people's careers, they really kill it. There was that senator like 10 or 15 years ago, Larry Craig, who got caught, trying to get sex from dudes in highway rest stops. And they were
Right,
like, you're gone forever. You're not coming
right.
back. You're gone. And that was just for like, I mean, that type of stuff, I guess, isn't it illegal to like do? I think it was like solicitation of prostitution. But if it had been a woman, let's be honest, I don't think the Republicans would have cared. But he was like dead, like his career, I mean. But you have now the Democrats are painting. And in fact, I saw a couple weeks ago this sympathetic uh, opinion piece about Al Franken, or they were interviewing him, and they were like, oh, he's working hard to, cope with the damage been done to his career and blah blah blah, and dude, like the guy was for years he was pretending that he was this moral like voice and whatever, and part of the clean Washington, and it was all a fraud. It was garbage. So you know
Yeah,
I,
the main reason they brought him out, he could just lay there and die. It's an anti-Kristen Gillibrand agenda, saying that she was too mean to him. I mean, look at the guy. I always got the willies from that guy. I think what he was involved with was probably not even with adults, if you ask me. So, what they're putting out in the media, like same with Bill Clinton, like, oh, it was just one girl. No, it was multiple rapes. It probably in the thousands. And as long as you could pay people off, but no, they pick on. So shame on Monica Lewinsky because she didn't mention the other 50 women or the other orgy crap that he was involved with. Shame on how they spin it. Shame on some of these actors. Get a better act. Get your story straight. It's all stories. And as far as restrooms, and Cory Booker did that or has done it multiple times, I'm sure. But he's the golden boy. If you're born Roseanne Barr, you're done because she has an ounce of truth in her. You see what they did to her, right? But yet they'll bring back Al Franken. Come on,
Yeah, I think that goes into the notion that I read a lot about China, which I don't think everything we say about China, in terms of the bad things is correct, but there's certainly some stuff I'd never want to see here that they do there.
Right.
So they have people that they've put in prison for 10 or 15 years claiming that they're a traitor and they betrayed, the revolution or whatever. But once they screw things up enough, they bring the same person back. And suddenly, all is forgiven and he's rehabilitated and whatever. And
Right.
it's such a ridiculous mindset. I think, we're talking about America, and me and you are obviously different people, different religions and whatever, but I think we can agree that one of the best things that our country has is that there's separation of powers. We don't have one person in control. Hopefully we don't. I could be wrong, but we try to keep the courts independent from the executive and also from the legislature. But I think the way the media is treating news nowadays, they are trying to make it virtually like communist China, because they want to. First of all, it's information filtering. It's the censorship. It's the way they treat one type of journalist different from another, as in Annie Ngo and James O'Keefe. They're not considered journalists. They're considered conservative provocateurs. Whereas they hold up people like the Mattress Girl as great activists, or
Right.
it's like if they reported the news honestly, they would be trusted, but they know that they're lying and they just can't stop.
It's who's the man in power, who's the pimp. I don't think it's run by one guy, because if it was, he's a super genius. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? To run TV programming like that, you got to work on it. So, unless there's some alien AI, I'm sure there's a lot of AI going on where they can think for themselves. Maybe we rely a lot on their decisions to reach this end. They're waiting the long game. When if you're a Republican, you're supposed to be a good winner. You're not supposed to pick on the loser. And
Mm-hmm.
boy, what do you do with sore losers? Do you kill them eventually? It's like, all right, we've taken enough gunshots. Enough is enough. We're going to stand up. Second Amendment. You come near me, you say a word, boo. I mean, it could really start a civil war in our country, but we don't want that. We don't, but the media wants that. The media, if it leads, it leads. And there's never, whatever happened to good news? The news, I remember as a kid, it would start out, Jimmy Washington shot someone on Broadway. It was all crimes at low level African American criminals, and they always show their face. And it's like, why is that the first four stories? There's so much going on in the world, but the media is weaning you like a nipple and telling you, be afraid of this, be afraid of that. I wake up some mornings in fear, like, oh my God. And then a glimmer of hope comes. You're like, you know what? If the world is this way, I'm going to make it a better place. I'll paint it cool. I'll laugh. I'm going to have fun, because you can't go by the outside. I'm just as terrible. I mean, I don't have any bathroom, men's room, prostitution stories, but we all changed. We all try to be better. You had a crappy marriage, get a new one and lie to your new one. You know what I mean? Just like the media will lie. Oh, we hate George Bush. Oh, I love George Bush. I love Megan McCain. You can change. Just get a new lie.
Yeah,
Change your look. Yeah.
that's like that's what's so maddening, that I was never really like, I'll be honest, like when George Bush was president, I
Right.
really didn't give a shit, and I wasn't really active in anything, and I was like completely, the war or whatever. I didn't vote, so I didn't care. But I always
Right.
thought the George Bush is a dumbass, and the
Right.
Democrats are also dumbasses. So I just couldn't care less. But
Right.
now they really hated him though. So now they're suddenly rehabilitating him, just like we've been talking about. And meanwhile, by the way, so Larry brings up a good point. Larry, who's in the chat, I'm sure that you've crossed paths with him, but
Okay.
Larry says that they just did this ridiculous doxing of mini AOC, a child of what was she, like 9 or 10 years old, because she
Right.
was offending their congresswoman or whatever. So this is what's so ridiculous, that a woman who's been elected to Congress has no career qualifications. She has some educational ones, says things that are plainly, they contradict the facts. If you're talking about economics, if you're talking about employment numbers, and then she has these ridiculous, hyperboles about the Holocaust, and there's my first strike today, and then the second strike because I showed the boob picture, and
Uh,
yeah, so Big AOC gets all of the courtesy in the world, but the
right.
the the kid who's parodying her is basically harassed and forced out of the public eye because she pissed off the wrong people with her really wholesome parodies.
Well, if she came out, all she has to do is make a video and lie and say like, "Hey, my name is Jeannie. I'm in the third grade. Sorry to offend anyone. I hate white nationalists." Like if she said their same talking points, I wasn't putting her down. I love her, and let me keep doing it. They let her do it. Meanwhile, we know that she could give a little wink because we know what she's doing. That's their way of choking back, or meaning like if we don't have an argument, we'll trigger them. We'll let that happen. They let it happen for a little while, and then all of a sudden they get you. Meanwhile, Desmond Amazing probably going to have his own TV show that's coming this fall, But they'll kill kids, they'll kill anything. They will slander you. They want you dead in the media unless you say, "I'm in Hollywood, bro. I can't walk around with a Trump hat. Unless you're packing, bro." You know what I mean? The mentality here is so it's nothing. There's no parent here in the room. You could go get away with murder here. There's no cops. I don't see anything. You know, I need a parent. I was brought up irresponsible, so I need a parent in the room. You know,
Yeah, that's like a valid point, and I think that when you're talking about children, the thing of the children thing is kind of sort of ridiculous. I remember they were talking about it with rap music when I was a kid because my dad hated rap music, and me and my brother were like
right,
into, and they were like some pretty stupid groups too that we were into. But in any case, so the thing of the children thing I think is appropriate though when you're talking about these transsexuals, when you're talking
right.
about in some cases the hormone therapy, when you're doing this politicization of them. And I'm working on a story that it's a long term project, but concerning how children are being used politically by political activist groups, and those groups are actually astroturf from the top. And it contradicts the way that I was raised, which I guess it does sound you know like my age is showing, but it's not like I was a kid that long ago. But my dad would have probably never wanted to see me like march around into Nancy Pelosi's office and tell her, why don't you support my Green New Deal or whatever. I mean, there
Right.
were things that they wanted us to, focus on politically, and I usually, when that happened, I was kind of like this is just me personally. I was always the contrarian. I was always objecting. Hey, you can tell me how something is, but I can do my own research and figure out whether it's true or not. And if I think you're wrong, I'm not going to agree with you necessarily just because you're my parents or my rabbis or whoever. I think critical thinking is something that you can't just bully out of people en masse. You have to do it over a span of several years, which is exactly what they're trying to do.
I think you're still doing. I think we're both still doing what we were as a kid. We still have the same. It was in infancy, but we still had that same will, drive, thinking. We have our own thinking construct. So we haven't changed. When they put out like a fake AOC kid or a Desmond, I knew at that age that I didn't think anything of it. My parents didn't give a crap, thank God. These kids are puppets, man. Any kid you see who's precocious or precarious or they're put up to it by their parents. It's child abuse, man. Let the kid, if they want to do stage or acting or whatever, let them do it once puberty or whatever. Pre-puberty, they are puppets and used totally. Just used as a political puppet, sex puppets, any type of puppet. The only reason Desmond is big is because sleeping with children is big in a third world country, but it's part of their religion. Why the opioid epidemic? It's part of being a Buddhist. It's part of their religion. So they're keeping their religious freedoms here, which is not in step with our God bless America thing, which patriotism, which goes deep, and people will kill for it here as we're brainwashed Jews. So when they ship us out, we'll go kill for us, USA. But otherwise, it's what they tell you to do. Yeah, that's why I love Mad Magazine. It was so anti-culture. Like they show boobs and swearing, and now they're killing Mad. TBS killed Mad Magazine. They're not funny anymore. It's like, oh, Orange Man
Yeah,
back.
yeah. That's exactly you took. That's a good point because I bought a subscription to Mad 4 years ago because I finally had enough money out there to just I'd always been like if I was thinking if I finally get enough money that I don't have to like constantly save like eggs that I think are past the date, I'll get a Mad Magazine subscription. And then I get the subscription, and it was by the time the election was in full swing, and it was complete crap because it was literally all Trump.
Right. Well, that's all they can do. That's what killed Trump. Killed Hollywood. Trump killed the humor business. I mean, a lot is funny. There's so much going on right now, but you can't make fun of them. You're supposed to be a good winner. That's going to change, bro. That half of the reason why they allow AOC, Toledo, Recreed, Omar, they're allowing that someone finally stands up and says, I don't care where you come from, but you're not being honest. All right. And maybe that will happen. Maybe a wave of tearing back the curtain. They know they're lying. They know they're the Wizard of Oz. They had us fooled for so long. But now their only joke is the Emperor's new clothes. I mean, come on. They know they are the Emperor. It's projecting. They're accusing us of everything that they're doing or want to do. And everything is dog whistling toward assassination and dog whistling toward hate and not loving. No, love is weak. That's why look at men. Love is weak. Oh, I can't admit it. Oh, no, love is great, man. You know what I mean? Be in love. Go hurt yourself. Do whatever you gotta do. They got us brainwashed, bro. And to fight the truth, know the truth. It makes you very angry. I mean, you can't tell everybody what you know, right? They don't want to hear it. They're like, what? They'd rather live in that fantasy bubble,
Well, that's kind of why, in many ways, political conversation, in at least in my case, it's moved on to YouTube more so than in
Right.
real life because the people in my circle, obviously, like I'm in the Jewish community, and many of them, I would say there's a lot of them who do agree that this whole hate speech stuff is complete nonsense. I've heard
Right.
other people who criticize the ADL. They're like, the ADL is like making up problems that have never happened, and basically, charging at windmills and whatever, and instead they're creating a bigger problem and whatever. But at the same time, you have people who are completely, they've bought into this media hype about the Nazis and whatever white supremacists and Charlottesville and whatever. I've met people who seriously have lost their minds over it, and you just can't talk to them about that or anything. It's like ridiculous. And then the other thing, which is just as bad, if not worse, is the Russiagate stuff because I honestly, it's not, but you've watched some of my videos about Russia, and I always
Right.
say, Russia, it's not like we have to be their best friends or emulate them or whatever, but there's no strategic or long-term benefit from a bad relationship or a war with Russia. And people are deluding themselves if they think that, fighting Putin all the time will really yield a better world. We're living with countries that they just don't want to they don't want to fit into our system, which is fine. The reason why we became an independent country was because we weren't compatible in certain ways with the British system, but we still retain some of their some of their traits, including the judicial system is based off of theirs. But people people are deluded. There's still these neocons who want to go to war with North Korea, who think that bombing Iran will create a free Iran, and that's just not the case. In fact, they've within a generation they've done the same thing with Libya and Iraq, and they won't learn a lesson because they're not their real goal is never really to save people. The real goal, I think, is power.
Why don't we have more 9/11s here? Like, why are we so safe? There's got to be a equal and opposite reason. I mean, we're not. Look at America, dude. Oh my God, you could get away. You could rob any bank. You could be married to multiple women. You could do. Where are the explosions? Where is Los Angeles was bombed again today. 37 civilians. No, that doesn't happen here. And you know what? It's not happening over there as much as they want us to believe. There's no hate out there. It's trigger words from our parents. Like my great grandmother was totally racist. My grandmother had a little bit of racism, and then my mother didn't have it anymore. And then I just didn't have it, But then I wouldn't know it happened unless I saw movies or there were songs about it, or so you could say, yeah, Nazis, Russia,
Mm-hmm.
towel heads, blacks, or
The
anything
Gooks,
that
don't forget the Vietnamese.
right, everybody. And you know what? They're all cool people as far as I mean, did they go through brainwashing to step onto our soil? No, they're just as cool as when they left their country. It's a big world out there. And countries are awesome. Travel the world. There's people are people. Someone in London is the same as you and me. They're having struggling with their family or their bills. They drink a beer every night. There's no different. We have to make them the monster.
Well, yeah,
Everyone's a
yeah. So,
monster.
so, so that's why I think that this whole multiculturalism plus neocon interventionism is the real problem because like you said, if for example my latest job, I had a boss. My real boss was a Chinese lady, pretty nice
Right.
lady. And my direct team leader was a Korean guy. So of course there's going to be some friction because there's a little cultural difference. There's a little difference in attitude. There's certain ways people behave that I used to work with Germans and they're like, no, you have to thread the if you're doing if you're tapping a thread, they they do it a little differently or whatever. I'm a
Right.
mechanical engineer and they know better, but there's there's differences in the way people behave, but um, that's not a reason to first like. There's two different reactions here, and that's what I'm getting to, Dave.
Right.
So on the one hand, the multiculturalists say Western values are garbage. We have to embrace diversity. And then there's the neocons who say the rest of the world is backward and poor. We have to go save them. And they want to mix those two together because I think it gives more power to these leaders, people who want to intervene overseas and then also ruin the society here because yeah, they can point to Russia and say Russia's always been this totalitarian state with that rules by fear and whatever, and it's like okay, they rule by fear, and they're still poorer than America by a large margin. We've gotten along with Russia several times over history, and I can live with Russia not being a perfect country so long as they're not ruining this country, which I don't think they are. And they just don't get it. They think that Russia is this threat that's hanging over them day and night. They're now starting to say the same thing about China. There is a threat from China, but the sensationalism is the problem.
Right. I think it's parenting. Like everybody's a parent. You know, people in power are parents. They look like school teachers. I mean, you look at Harris; they're wearing the same clothes. Eric Swalwell, teachers that it's like they got such a better salary. Why do they like look doty and daunted and always look wrinkly and
Mm-hmm.
misshapen? You know. But yeah, every culture has its way. You know, Germans screw it this way, or I never met a black man who don't like chicken, or we must embrace our differences, but to exploit our differences, that's where the money is. There's big money in hate and shaping cultural norms and values, like Steven Spielberg makes E.T. And then after that, years later, you hear stories like, well, they screened it in the White House, and when the movie was over, it was all generals and everything there. And Reagan gets up and says, "What you just saw there is real. That is a documentary. That is this is what happens." Disclosing hidden truths. Um, these conspiracy theories, they're all real as far as I could see. I believe everything and disbelieve everything until you see it. Like, dude, let's go to Russia. I got a lot of money. Let's go to Russia. All right, we go to Russia tomorrow. You're like, why don't they hate us? Like, what's going on? We were told that they don't like us. Why are they being so nice to us? You know what I mean? You can't go by anything you hear. There is no threat out there. We are the threat. We're the ones waving our big Johnson around, telling everybody, all right, here's the deal. We don't need no bully. You know what I mean? We don't. We always have to have a bully. Like, look at Hillary. All right, everybody, shut up. Heel. Bring them to heel. Do you want? No one.
I think Dave just had a disconnect, so let's see if we can get him back. 1 second. Hold on. Let me call him back. In the meantime, I've been kind of sloppy about sharing the streams and the videos to mine, so I just did that. And, just for programming purposes, I've been doing less videos just because I'm working on a longer project, and maybe the live streams are going to be more frequent. So, just hope you guys are enjoying it. I know that it's a busy fourth, but I think it's great to have people who are visual artists or artists. If I can get musicians on, that would be cool, because I think sometimes you have to take a step back from the politics, and I think he'll come back in a second. But I think really what Dave's conversation shows is that, yeah, we've had politics and opinions just ruin art a lot. And no, that was me calling him Stormy. So that was like the real issue we're talking about now is that politics and cultural cultural Marxism. Well, let's not call it cultural Marxism for a second. I'll call it cultural politics is infecting everything. It's infecting the arts. It's infecting cinema. It's infecting everything, and you just can't run away from it. There was just this. Here we go. Hey, Dave. Sorry about. Did you have like a disconnect or something?
I just plugged back in
Okay.
immediately. The Jesse Peters song. I know we can find a way.
Did you see that interview? Did you see that interview that he did with? I think I can hear myself. Hold on. Let me try now. So Jesse Lee Peterson had this hilarious interview. I think it was last week with this gay pastor, and he just it was kind of like ridiculous, but he basically just kept asking him, are you gonna call this man your wife and whatever, and and like the guy just got up and left. But the thing with Jesse is that I think with every guest he tries to basically troll them the entire interview. Dave, I think he's doing something in the background there. Um. Anyway, so we're going to be talking a lot about what's been happening with the Mueller case coming up.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but you're coming.
Okay, good.
It's pretty loud now.
All right, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
So what are your thoughts right now about this continuing Russia investigation? There's going to be hearings in I think it was 2 weeks from yesterday, and you're going to see Mueller actually going and taking the stand again. What are your expectations of what's going to happen?
Well, we all know what Mueller is. We all know what he didn't look at. We all know how that Steele dossier came about. There's so many questions that he's not going to answer. It's just going to be another circus. He can't. And there's valid questions to ask, like when did you know? Why did you keep this going? What other business interests have you? Bring up Uranium One. Bring up 9/11. Bring up all this shady business as a puppet to the government, and how much money, and bring up, and he won't answer, and he'll be fodder for the Republicans. Every Republican's like, yes, bring him back, because the Democrats are just going to be like, right, he did it though, right? You left it open, right? So you brought it to us. Is there anything more we could focus on to impeach him? This is all political theater, bro. Mueller is, and once you heard him talk, it's like, wow, this is Mueller time. Ew.
Yeah, I would say that there were several junctures where people started to realize that the whole thing is this massive charade, and the people that said it first, of course, were ones like Lee Stranahan and Dan Bongino and people like that. They were saying, look, I mean, the evidence is already super super weak. Jim Comey has already lied a million times. Um, the whole case is based on innuendo and this idea that the president got pissed on by a bunch of prostitutes. Which, first of all, where's the evidence? They kept talking about tapes. Tom Arnold and his stupid tapes, which have not surfaced yet. So I'm wondering, if you've been talking about tapes for so long, how come we haven't seen footage of literally nothing? Nothing. It's just so ridiculous. So.
Well, that was Cher Blue or David Brock and Hillary's, media people setting that plan forward. And once you do that, once you shoot, you better be prepared to keep fighting back because it's lifting a silly veil. It was pretty complicated, though. Mistwood, Russian spies. It was a very complicated, mostly too complicated for anyone who doesn't care. But they did it, though. And if they go that far to screw you, they're going to get you. You're next. That's what's frightening about the whole thing,
Yeah, that's a great point. How complicated it is, and the reason I think that many people don't really look into it is because so many of the connections are kind of very very nuanced and whatever. The George Papadopoulos story. If anybody listens to the interviews that he's had, I think he's been interviewed by Tracy. He's been interviewed by Bongino, and it's a good 45 minutes every time, because the whole thing is, I was called for a meeting, and then they wanted to set up another meeting, and then they wanted me to do this, and then they gave me $10K in cash, and they wanted me to take it over to the U.S., and then I gave it to my lawyer, and once you get through it, I think many people their attention spans are so short that they're not really willing to, hear the whole thing out. So they just give up and they go for the most easy to digest, what do you call it? The most easy to digest version of events, which is, Papadopoulos must have done something wrong. I mean, he was indicted. He did plead guilty to something, which is is complete nonsense. I mean, you get indicted for lying to the FBI when the FBI has been headed by, pathological liars. I mean, what kind of standard is that?
Well, we're talking about justice, and that is used as a trigger word too. Like, let's not, no one's talking about just Brennan, Clapper, all these guys, Andy McCabe. Why are they on TV every day? Why are they not behind bars? It's because what they're saying, the media wants to hear. The people in control of there's no such thing as a politician anymore. Let's just call them what they are, lobbyists. And to me, I don't want to say the word Satan, but saying lobbyist hurts even more because it's true and it's disgusting. Once they own you, you don't own anything. We don't really own anything. They could take everything away in a blink of an eye just because April O'Ryan rolled her eyes at you one day,
So yeah, I think that's like a good complaint that I have too, which is that even though I am a fan of this new Attorney General, the Barbarian, as I call him, I just want him to finally do it. Finally lead some of these people in handcuffs out of their houses and say, we're going to put you under the jail. We're going to bury you in the ocean jail or whatever, because these types of crimes, I think, are some of the worst that we've seen. Yeah, of course they didn't chop people up and eat their livers or whatever, but it's still in terms of corrupting the system and undermining the public trust and just the libel that they've spread. Yeah, these are some pretty awful crimes that people like Strzok and Page and McCabe and Brennan and let's not forget Susan, what's her name, Susan Rice.
Yep.
And the other lady, Samantha Power, all those people, Sally Yates, and they're going out in front of the TV cameras and portraying themselves as the real pillars of the justice system. They've never. I mean, you can't be a pillar of the justice system if you violate all of the protocols of due process and actual national security rules. It just doesn't work that way. Other than that, Dave, do you have anything else you want to talk about today? I was comparing some of your art to, I don't know if you're a fan of these, but these King Crimson album covers.
Right.
So it just
you got to rock out sometimes. You got to get a little, as long as it's colorful. Like people will go to the show or a show and their girlfriends are like, wow, how pretty. And then they walk up to it and they start crying or so, it's like, yeah. As long as it's pretty, it's painted with really nice colors, technically skilled, you could say anything you want. You could, it will get you killed if you said it out loud or screamed it in the street. But this way you can get away with it because it's a tangible, two-dimensional, nothing but scratchings on a surface. You can't get mad. You'd be a fool to get mad at this or triggered by it. But visuals carry such an emotional weight to people ever since you're a baby. You know what I mean? Before speech, art is a way of doing that. It's a way of making you feel love, anger, all these emotions that we've bottled up inside sometimes. Being an artist is weird because it's all a system. It's just like any job. You have your perverts, you have your cool people. Mostly the people who move up in the ranks are straight jacket Satanist perverts, and everyone throws money at their campaign, ups their sales. Anyone big in art, modeling, acting, they're all pretty much they're Satanists, bro. You know what I mean? They kill. They have killed. They're all part of this cult. type thing. It's probably like a 6,000-year-old tradition of altars and all that. And they are the money makers. They're the dream makers. They are the illusionists. But now with Trump, our eyes are getting open. We would have never known about Strzok Page without Judicial Watch. Trump is allowing this to come out. He's allowing pictures of Obama hugging a 10-year-old girl, with his finger cut in 30 pictures, involved in some ritual. And Larry Sinclair, what have you done, Obama? Allowing all these truths that should shame them. Like, look at your leaders. Look at the stars that you followed. It was all an illusion. And you bought it hook, line, and sinker, and people are still waking up. They'll kill you now if you speak out. They'll throw acid in your face. If you're on the right side of the law, you better start praying or something, because they're coming and something's going to happen. Just with today, it's like they're going to do a false flag somewhere. They got to. Meanwhile, they could show on CNN, oh, here's everybody. Oh, my God, these people are dying. And look at Trump with his little parade. He's in Washington stroking his ego. Meanwhile, we got real problems here in America. I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet. The day's not over. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's pretty hard to enjoy the day. I actually had to go. I didn't even get any meat, but I wanted to do a little barbecue. I think I have some chicken here. But
Right.
yeah, that kind of puts a damper on it, because you're thinking, oh, this would be a perfect day for some sort of plane to crash or something. Which, by the way, I think there was just some sort of naval accident in Russia.
Right.
So,
yeah, it's happening. It will happen.
Yeah.
And they say like 7 out of 10 planes don't crash naturally. You know what I mean? How often is there an air disaster? But why is there so many? It's because someone was on board that was going to talk. Usually 7 times out of 10, maybe even more. There's no such thing as a plane accident. Look, they turned Mike Pence's plane around, and he's like, I'll let you know next week what really happened. Meaning, oh, we're having an earthquake here, dude. I'm sure you can't feel it. Earthquake time. Serious, bro. Gonna have to look on the news. It seems pretty big. It's not over. It's not over. The house is swaying. Still going. It's slowing down, but it's rocking back and forth now. I think that's it. No, a little bit more. It's like a rolling thunder thing under your feet. And I'm on a 3rd floor apartment, so I'll be crashing down on some poor fool if some shit happens. This is the second one since I've been here.
Yeah,
like 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think. It's like really crazy. Some of these people that are able to live in these like earthquake zones and nothing happens for years. But for example, I know somebody whose son moved to Japan, and they, Japan's had some horrible earthquakes.
Right.
So I don't know if you can see. I'm gonna try to show you my screen. But as a visual artist, what do you think of? Let me see here. I whipped this up yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Hold on. They can see it on the Hangouts, but on the YouTube, but
right. I can't see.
Yeah, just a second.
Right. Oh, I got it. Yeah, rainbow.
So yesterday I made this to symbolize for all those people who have a problem with our flag. I made this. This could be a flag for them. You have Miley Cyrus with the abortion cake, Jussie Smollett, and Megan Rapinoe and Colin Kaepernick with that cartoon character Steven Universe. It's the perfect flag for people who ruin perfect things. What do you think?
Yeah, that's going to be generally loved. You're a good boy now. See, yeah, I'm going to have to make a bumper for you.
Do you want me to play that video? By the way, the soft gentleman video. Do you think it's a good idea, or will it get me?
No, it'll probably get you killed. They don't. They're dumb, but they're not that dumb. You know what I mean?
So I am showing your channel on the screen. I think I think I gotta go, but it was great to have you. His channel is in the description for David MacDowell. Is there another site? I was looking for the best site for your art. What's the best site for them to find you at?
I think just Google it maybe, but my main store that I sell sell prints and original is Living Room Floor Gallery. You know, like the gallery is on the living room floor. Just livingroomfloorgallery.com. And yeah, man, it's great talking to you. You rule, dude. You're smart as hell. I've learned so much from you and looking forward to the future. And let's do this again, dude.
Yeah, man. Maybe we could have you on with Lennon he's from California too. We could do some. You know,
Yep.
I like doing this. I don't really care if people disagree with me or whatever. You know, sometimes this is kind of just my vent stream, or
Right,
to maybe sometimes I get ideas from the audience, like Larry or John Sislowski over there.
right,
So I think YouTube's just a great way for people to trade theories and ideas. Some of the theories are garbage though, but
right.
that's why you have multiple people shooting
No,
them down. Yeah.
it's good to let your hair down. It's good to show, more philosophy or theories than actual news. News can make you insane, dude, because half the time you don't know what to believe, so you can't stand by it. So you're just blah 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 blah, blah. You're speaking in tongues, and then it changes the next day, and whatever you were talking about is irrelevant in 5 hours when something else happens. So the only thing that sticks with us is us. Don't burn your chicken, bro.
All right. Thanks. Again, this was David MacDowell with me, and I think I'll play the Vitamin String Quartet to play us
Thanks.
out. But yeah, thanks again, and happy 4th of July. And
Happy for.
I hope there's good news in the offing instead of all these disasters.
Amen. So I'm going to go to Twitter and see how many people died from this earthquake. Yeah. So happy 4th, everyone.
Happy 4th. Good night.
Yeah. Peace.
Bye bye.